Thank you all for joining us for this webinar. Again, my name is Holly Bignall. I'm with Line Zero, Workplace from Facebook partner, and I will be your in-session co-organizer for today. I'd like to welcome you to this session entitled Business Technology Working Together, Workplace from Facebook and Microsoft Teams to Combat COVID-19. So let's go ahead and jump right into the webinar. So for today's session, let's first take a quick peek at the agenda. So firstly here, we'll just go into some introductions of our speakers, who Line Zero is, who Workplace from Facebook is. We'll discuss Teams and Workplace, both looking at what it's good for and who it's for. Then we'll go into some head-to-head comparison, one being for features, the other being for outcomes, as well as some customer stories and examples, mainly around IT best practices, as well as the executive presence, so how to update around COVID-19. Then we'll move into some next steps and some Q&A to give our attendees the floor to answer some must-needed questions. So we do have a lot of great content for you today, and it is my privilege to introduce to you the speakers who will take us through it all. So first, I'd like to introduce Erica Mole-Richardson. She is the Business Development Manager with Line Zero, Workplace from Facebook partner, as well as Marina Leviash. She is the Client Success Manager with Workplace from Facebook. Just a little brief background on these ladies. Erica joined Line Zero in November of 2018. She transitioned from Line Zero's sister company, ProServe IT, to the Line Zero team shortly after winning the Rising Star Women in the IT Channel Award. Erica's background in diversity and inclusion, coupled with digital strategy, really brings a wealth of knowledge to her customers and future clients, especially in road mapping, communication, and strategic growth plans. From an organizational perspective, Line Zero basically houses a team of experts who are experienced in pre-launch, launch, and post-launch of your workplace projects. So Line Zero really aims to be your go-to resource to ensure Workplace meets your team's expectations and you get the most out of your workplace environment. Now Marina, in her role, she's focused on supporting both partners and clients. She did start her career in healthcare, training future pharmacy technologists, and later she gained her customer success chops working for companies like Oracle and Huddle, as well as various startups across the Valley. Specifically, she loves using her background in healthcare, productivity, and education to provide really tailored experience and support to customers as they embrace the power of connected communities at work. And again, from an organizational perspective, Workplace from Facebook's mission is really to give the world a place to work together. They launched in 2016, and they're basically an enterprise communications platform that is used by over 30,000 organizations of all sizes worldwide, and their aim is to connect and transform how people connect, collaborate, and get work done. So with that, I'll say welcome, Erica and Marina. It's a pleasure having you both with us today. So the last thing from me here is before we do get started, I would like to point out to you that if you have any questions throughout the session, please use the chat function on the platform. I will be monitoring the chat window throughout the presentation, and I'm happy to read out those questions as they come in. So please don't be shy. Feel free to ask as many questions as you need to, and we'll kind of address those in the Q&A portion at the end of this presentation. So with that, I will pass the mic, so to speak, to Erica to discuss what Teams is good at.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Holly, for that introduction. And hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing so well. Thank you for joining today. I know that right now, we're all kind of working through some unprecedented times. So Marina and I super appreciate your time on the call. And if you hear any background noises, we have some four-legged friends and some children. So just want to call that out before, but thank you again for joining. So first, we're going to jump into Microsoft Teams and what Teams is good at. And from a productivity perspective, Microsoft Teams comes with your Office 365 stack. And it allows you to really, it is a native platform enablement with the Microsoft technologies that you are used to. So that would be like Word document, Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint presentations. Teams is really good at working on group projects and document creation. So co-authoring and version control when you're working on creating a lot of that content, especially with rights management and document level security. We are now in a time where everyone is remote and working at home, majority of us. So having to make sure that we do have those right proper security permissions wrapped around those documents, you are able to access those within Microsoft Teams. Other things that you're able to do with Microsoft Teams, it's like project management. So there's planner and project integrations. The other functionalities of it as well are around scheduled meetings and scheduled calls and teleconferences. So there is, you are able to telephony directly within Microsoft Teams. So there are the traditional dial technologies. And then as I mentioned before, we are able to get into more of the nitty gritty around our Office integrations with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. And operating within those silos of Teams allows you to collaborate from a productivity perspective within that one hub. So who is Teams for? So if we're going to divide this up into around 4 different buckets, the first bucket is executives. And so with Office 365 and Teams, you're able to access secure data and dashboards via Power BI. From an executive perspective as well, you're able to do some team collaboration. So collaborating on any strategic documents that are happening within those teams. So creating teams that are one-to-one between those executives or even within those group of leaders, and making sure that people are all aligned from a productivity and creating that content. Next, jumping into that HR bucket. So you're able to do some authoring and standardizing of policies. You're also able to do performance management. So again, working within those teams, you're able to put in those sensitive documents and make sure that you're able to collaborate on a one-to-one basis from a productivity perspective. From a comms perspective, you're able to collaborate on creating some of that formal communication and communication governance. And the last but not least is really deskless. So you are able to access those corporate documents with SharePoint Online acting as that hub on the back. So from a productivity perspective, it's an incredible tool. However, when you're trying to enable some larger communications, especially with connecting with such a dispersed workforce, this is where Workplace actually shines.
Thank you so much, Erica. Let's transition now to just talk through what Workplace is good at. So digitizing culture, many companies are already offering flexible working conditions, allowing employees to work both remote and in office. Our current events have created really a new normal for many organizations where now all employees are remote. It's critical more than ever to create an effective digital culture that promotes inclusivity and connectiveness for everyone. The Workplace platform really allows you to connect everyone in your organization by offering familiar features like groups, chat, and video calls. All company comms, like I mentioned, just bringing people together and deepening that engagement is, at this time, is critical more than ever. Live video lets you broadcast announcements, training sessions, meetings across your entire organization. But you're not just putting out content for everyone to see. You're also able to monitor who's engaging with that content and getting that feedback in real time. In regards to internal comms, often no one really replies to a CEO's email. Many people feel more comfortable commenting or liking a post. CEOs can use their own groups to share thoughts in formal and also informal posts. Leaders appear more human as they interact, using posts that can really unite and inspire the workforce. We've helped over 30,000 companies transform their internal comms and really help them build that authentic company culture. The mobility aspect of the platform really allows your employees to stay connected while they're on the go. Our Frontline edition is amazing for deskless workers. Frontline employees are really crucial for many businesses serving customers or manufacturing products. But only 14% of them feel connected to their company as they really don't have access to the right technology to make this happen. With Frontline Access with Workplace, you can really connect your frontline employees regardless whether they are hourly, contingent, or temporary. culture amplification. Your culture should be more than just a few words on the wall. It should promote a genuine feeling of community and celebrate the individuals who make up your company culture. Share cultural moments in a company-wide news group, welcome new hires in an onboarding groups, and recognize your employees with badges and or thanks feature. And best of all, it's a low education solution. Just to give you an example, AstraZeneca, research-based pharmaceutical company, connected 64,000 people to harness the power of community at work. A week after the CEO joined the platform, the entire leadership team was using Workplace. Within a month, another 200 global senior leaders were on board using the platform, collaborating, and connecting with one another. The familiar features and ease of adoption really convinced the AstraZeneca to basically mandate a complete rollout to all of its 64,000 employees in just a couple of months after deployment. So very easy to use features that everyone can really adopt very easily. As you can see, we have various profiles that Workplace is really good for. So for example, executives, like I mentioned earlier, the broadcasting features, live video, having a group dedicated to just your senior execs is really going to reduce that executive distance and really help to promote a connected company culture. For the HR persona, faster onboarding. There's various features within the platform that allows you to create topics. So as you're onboarding your new employees, they can search for those topics within groups and get that information very easily. And it also really helps to promote that employee engagement as well. Comms, getting the right message to the right person, and then also making sure that you're measuring the reach and the impact. And then as I talked a little bit earlier around deskless, so giving deskless workers a voice and feeling that they are connected to your company, that they are part of this, of one team is very, very powerful, and our technology really kind of enables organizations to really connect everyone within one single platform.
So now that Marina and I have really talked about what Teams is and who it's for and what Workplace is and who it's for, we're kind of going to do a bit of a head-to-head. And whenever we talk about applications, there seems to be this need to look at features. And so when we talk about the features, you can see that there is a lot of overlap. There's chat, there's video and audio calls, there's meetings and events, there's document storage, there's mobile application, but from a feature perspective, where Teams and Workplace are different, are from the team side, there is that dial tone telephony that we mentioned, and of course that native integration into those office tools that you currently use. And then on the Workplace side, safety check, especially with what is going on right now in the world, making sure that organizations are able to put their arms around their people and ensure their safety. Safety check allows you to do that. So similar to the feature on Facebook where you can mark yourself as safe, safety check allows executives and administrators to push out a notification that says yes or no if you are safe. And it's really powerful from a making sure your people are intact. But I think in today, with everything going on, being able to push a notification like that allows your team to really make sure that you're accountable for your people. The second feature on Workplace is going live, and we're seeing that especially now when we are disconnected and we're all working from home, or a majority of us are working from home, and those that are out and still working in the field, there's a bit more of a distance feeling and you feel isolated. Allowing leaders to go live, so that feature that you can do on Facebook and on Instagram, they've pulled that into Workplace. So now from a professional perspective, Workplace, because it is that internal tool that only your organization would get those notifications, allowing them to really engage in that two-way dialogue from an executive leader that's going live and getting those questions is something that is really powerful. So this is that head-to-head features, and when we're talking about Workplace and Teams, you will see a little bit of that overlap. However, the part that I really do want to highlight is more in the outcomes, and that is incredibly powerful, because whenever we think about different tools and we're thinking about what they are, whenever you look at their description and their features, and there can be a lot of overlap, but really where you want to focus a lot of your time and energy is on the why. So that power of the why. Why am I using this tool? What is it going to provide for me? Why am I giving it to my employees? So really, when we're focusing on the outcomes of Teams and Workplace, as you can see, there is that stark difference, and it really does fall in Teams as a productivity tool and Workplace as connecting one another. And then there is a little bit in the middle around application aggregator and digitizing business process. But on the team side, for productivity, being able to do that real-time collaboration coupled with that data governance is incredibly important when we're all trying to make sure that working from home is still manageable. Content creation, so those folks that are constantly creating content are able to still collaborate with teams, even though they're maybe not sitting together in an office space. Having those scheduled intercompany meetings and those scheduled interactions, staying within that hub. However, if we move over to Workplace, you'll start to see really the culture amplification. And that is around making sure that people are really starting to engage in that employee engagement. We're noticing now more than ever with our customers that having that second sort of employee engagement is incredibly powerful, and making sure that everyone's mental health wellness is there. So being able to run campaigns where you're able to gauge a pulse check on the organization, or you're just able to now find out how people are really doing, and that transparency. As Marina mentioned, that mobile feature and being able to use some of that executive presence, it allows people to kind of take that experience that they experience in their personal life and bring it over into the work life. The second parts that I think are incredibly still important right now are really around the emergency comms. So over the last 3 to 4 weeks especially, there's been a rapid pace of communications. And right now organizations are kind of not struggling, I would say, but it's really hard to make sure that you're effectively capturing that notion of everything that's changing, but also making sure that your employees are reading it, that they are able to actually understand what's going on. So that engagement feature on some of those emergency comms is super powerful within Workplace because of that transparency feature, but also because now you're having a dialogue. It's not just you having to push out the communication and really keeping to create that content, but now you're able to say, how are you feeling about it? So being able to really have that dialogue is important. And then last but not least, those water cooler interactions. I can't speak more than enough about the fact that 5 o'clock rolls around or noon rolls around and we're all kind of sitting and having lunch by ourselves and we're wondering, is there a better way to do this? Maybe I'll FaceTime someone. But what we've seen in some really across organizations is implementing a social hour every Friday at 5, where families can now hop on and are able to start to have some of those water cooler interactions that they weren't able to do. So really when it comes to the features of Teams and Workplace, there is similarity, but the outcomes are incredibly different. And if I can throw an analogy out there, I think the biggest one for me is that around like fruits and vegetables, right? You need both in order to have a healthy diet. And when you're comparing these two communication tools, they're similar in the feature set, but those outcomes are they're different and they're needed, and they're very important when we're looking at the different ways that we're trying to engage folks. So I think what we're going to do now is, there we go. Sorry about that. I'll hand it back over to Marina because you want to dive into some real use cases that today you can take away and apply it to what's a good way of actioning these items.
Thank you, Erica. So I'm going to provide you with just a couple of examples that you can kind of start to think about how you can kind of put this into practice. So surveys. If you are an IT professional, or maybe you're an HR professional, regardless of the field that you're in, creating a group that's specific to your team, and then being able to then assign a survey to the entire audience that's part of that group, is going to be very, very critical for many reasons. One, you're going to be able to not only kind of gauge and get a sense of kind of the pulse of the company, but you're also going to be able to collect those real-time insights on a regular basis. A lot of times when you send out a survey over email, people don't usually, they're getting so many emails on a regular basis. It can really get lost in their inbox. If you're sending it via Workplace, just the engagement that we've seen is just so much higher. People are going to, take that survey. You are going to get that real-time insights, and then you can also kind of gauge, okay, based on the survey results, do people, what if it's IT, are people understanding the remote tools that are available to them? If it's HR, are they understanding the company benefits that the organization is offering them? So you're going to be able to collect those real-time insights, and then also be able to gauge how frequently you want to be able to communicate information to your employees. And so what we've seen work best is for IT teams, they have an open group, and the entire company is in that open group, and they're able to do live videos to share those critical updates and announcements. They are running regular surveys to get a pulse on how people are feeling and how informed they are about the tools that are available to them. Additionally, polls is also a really great functionality that we see a lot of success with. You can use polls to really make decisions faster as a team and gather that critical feedback. So get real-time feedback on agenda topics for your team, for your meetings. This is a really great way to get a sense of what are those critical updates people are wanting to hear in your, for example, all hands, in your team meetings. Just being able to get that insight so quickly, we find is just really a game changer for many organizations.
And next, the second example that we're seeing across organizations is COVID-19 live updates from executives. So, and this doesn't have to be in government regulated updates or government related news, just more around what's happening right now in the business. So allowing execs to really go live and take that time to answer those office hour questions. So what you can do is create that content in Teams. So allowing, as you would normally, if you are on Teams right now, you can allow people to join those office hours on Teams and then simultaneously go live on Workplace. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to effectively create the content in Teams via your streaming platform from a telephony perspective. It allows people to dial in. But then what it allows your end users to do, for example, if you're a geographically dispersed organization and people aren't able to make it, they can now consume the content on Workplace. What you'll actually notice in the example that we have here is that you'll see a seen by and you'll see 24 views. So what that allows an executive leader is to really see is who's consuming that information, how many people have viewed it, and then who actually is engaging with it. And so you can have likes and you can have comments. What we do find really powerful about this is that you are taking the best of both worlds, and you're allowing people then to use the tools as they're meant to be used from a productivity perspective around content creation for teams and then consuming that content. And when it pops up on your feed, you're able to join it live on Workplace. As we mentioned before, Workplace is a private internal communication platform. So being able to go live from an executive presence, we're seeing that visual communication is really resonating with those users. So as like a practical example for those executive team members that do have teams, being able to shift those open office hours or shift some of those town hall meetings to Teams, and then posting it, consuming that content on Workplace and posting it live. For if any of you are in comms or HR that have Workplace, you can then also go back with the analytics and actually see who has actually seen it and be able to provide that data back up to upper management and leadership. We just find that coupled together, if you're looking to reach a vast majority of people, being able to use these technologies in tandem really does make a huge impact. So who wins? I think that this is something that we've been trying to drive home throughout this webinar, but essentially the Microsoft core competency is productivity. They're very good at the governance, the productivity, wrapping security permissions around things, ensuring that people are able to create that content to really do what they need to do for that business. But Facebook's core competency is creating connections, and I think that they've done an incredible job of that. Workplace really allows you to explore the connections that are happening within your organization. So allowing people, especially in a time where everyone is working remote, and allowing them to make those connections, and whether that be through employee recognition, whether that be through wellness campaigns, so Wellness Wednesdays or FAQ Tuesdays of IT being able to provide guidance on which tools to use. I think that right now, more than ever, change is incredibly rapid, and you can't really do everything with just one tool. And so the point of this webinar and the whole goal that we're really trying to share with your teams are, we've seen from organizations that leverage them independently, they really only accomplish about 40% of what needs to happen within an organization, but together they can accomplish 110%. And to leave you with another kind of analogy, I should say, it's really just, you can't garden with just a shovel. Like, you do need other tools in your tool stack. The real effectiveness, though, is when you're introducing tools to any sort of organization in a place that moves incredibly fast, or change that's happening and people are nervous and unprecedented. You want to make sure that people are familiar with those tools and that they feel good about those tools. But the big thing here is really that why. Why am I using this tool? What is it meant for? That is incredibly powerful when you're trying to engage your entire user base and your entire employees. I think a majority of people, if not all people on this call, you're all tasked with ensuring that internal communications and external communications are being met. And sometimes those expectations aren't being met internally. And if we kind of provide a clear roadmap around what each tool is really good at and how to use the tool and why to use the tool, why are they being given this tool, that's where we really see kind of that magic happen. So I'm going to hand this back to Holly in terms of some next steps that you're able to do in terms of, now that hopefully we've spent some good time here to give some knowledge on how we've seen some of our other organizations and how they've leveraged both of these tools. But I'll kick it off to Holly to kind of walk through what next steps could look like in terms of what makes the most sense for you, and if you have any additional questions.
Amazing. Thank you, Erica. And thank you so much, both of you ladies, for the information on how Workplace and Teams truly do work better together. So this slide kind of depicts our remote work readiness assessment. So this is to help you understand your remote work readiness. We've put together this short 5-minute assessment. We do welcome you to kind of go through the checklist to see if you are ready for remote work. And we do, when we do receive your answers, we'll contact you with your assessment results, as well as a list of recommendations. So beyond this, if you feel that you already understand your remote work readiness capabilities and you're ready to just talk solution, we do have a couple options available to you. So the first option here is moving into our 48-hour accelerated workplace from Facebook deployment. This is for organizations with 3,000 employees or less, so small to mid-sized organizations. And our team of experts will really assist you with workplace technical implementation within that 48-hour window. We'll also assist with accelerated launch strategy and a 25-day action plan, as well as developing a crisis communication strategy within Workplace, guidance on the management of ongoing crisis events, and the use of that safety check feature that Erica discussed throughout the presentation. We'll also kind of move through remote access facilitation. So what does that really mean? It's getting your employees working and secure access to existing company resources quickly. And lastly, we will kind of share with you our leading practices for engaging remote employees. The second offer really kind of outlines exactly what I've mentioned here in terms of deliverables and activities. The only difference being this is meant for large organizations. So this is a 7-day accelerated workplace from Facebook deployment. The kind of tangibles for this is that it would be for organizations with 3,000 plus employees, basically including all the deliverables and activities that I just mentioned. So if you are interested, please do feel free to reach out to engage@linezero.com. We're more than happy to kind of give you a list of recommendations based on that work readiness assessment. And if you are ready to kind of move into a solution-oriented discussion, we're more than willing to do that as well in terms of the 48 or 7-day offer. Now for this presentation, we'll just move quickly into the Q&A, and we actually do have a question already off of the bat, ladies. This one is from George, and it's a two-parter. So what about the Teams and workplace integration? And secondly, why would you prefer one chat over the other, workplace versus Teams?
Perfect. Marina, did you want to field any part of that, or do you want me to take that one?
I can always tag on too. Why don't you kick it off, Erica, and I'll just tag on.
Okay, perfect. So you are able, Jorge, I want to make sure, it's so hard. Pardon me?
I think it's George.
George, okay, perfect. It's so hard to make sure that you're saying people's names right. But George, thank you so much for your question. So you are able to actually bring aspects of Teams into workplace and workplace into, so Teams into workplace and workplace into Teams. Workplace does have an open API, so you are able to integrate the two. It kind of depends on what you're hoping to achieve with that. So we do have developers that can sit down with you, what I like to call our big, beautiful minds, that sit down with you and really discuss what are you hoping to accomplish with that sort of integration. So if you're looking to accomplish a feed, or if you're just saying, you know what, I just want to make sure that there is a connective tissue between the two applications, and I'd prefer just to have a button, or I want there to be a feed that comes up. Those are things that we can pull that information. Where we have seen specifically around some of that integration that really has made some impacts with the organizations we have worked with is more Power BI. So we have found that the tools and the data that are provided in workplace, you can extract that and put it into Power BI, and that allows executives and your leaders and anyone that needs to have access to some of those important insights and data, and putting it into a way that's mobile friendly, able to look through those graphs and those data. So we are able to do that. If I'm happy to kind of chat a little bit more with you after, and Marina, and we can chat a little bit more about what you'd like to see in that integration. That's part A. And sorry, could you repeat part B for me, Holly?
And part B is why prefer one chat over the other, so workplace versus Teams.
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So in terms of the chat functionality, it really depends on your company culture and what you're really hoping to achieve from both platforms. So when it comes to one-to-one chat within WorkChat, we've seen the adoption and it's insane. So with organizations that launch Workplace from 150 people all the way up to, as Marina mentioned, 64,000 people, it really more is just that intuitiveness, and it feels and looks like something that they see in their personal life. So we do find that the work chat, especially on the mobile phone, is just like, it's phenomenal. It just feels like something that you would use in your personal life. So being able to apply that to your work life it feels more like a natural motion. However, the chat functionality in Teams that we find really powerful is when you're collaborating on some of those documents, or you're having one-to-one conversations and meetings and you just need to hop on. So it's really more of a preference, and it kind of comes down to what you're doing with what you're hoping to achieve with the outcomes of each tool. I think that that's something that's incredibly important. Where we do find, as Marina mentioned, from an IT best practices, we do actually find that Teams adoption actually gets driven quicker via Workplace, because IT teams are able to kind of share some of those nifty tricks and tools that you can do in Teams via Workplace, and via those groups, it's a really healthy way to get that dialogue and connect everyone. Marina, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think you've covered it really well. The only thing that I would also just mention is if your organization works with external vendors, we do have the ability to create multi-company groups where you're basically creating a group just between you and the vendor that you're working with. So they're not going to be able to see anything in your company's instance, just whatever you share within that group. Why that's important is you can also chat with those individuals. So that makes it really easy. So if you wanted to kind of find out something very quickly, if you're working on a particularly time-sensitive project, being able to get a hold of them very quickly and seamlessly within Workplace also, we see companies really enjoy those capabilities as well.
Okay, thank you for that answer, ladies. So we do have a couple more questions. So Samira is asking, is there an analytics feature in Teams that's comparable to the insights feature in Workplace?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for that question. And it is Power BI that you are able to kind of pull through that. In terms, are you asking like the data that you can pull from Teams? So how many people are using the chat functionality and how many people are using the just using the platform in general? Or are you looking at actually just taking data and being able to kind of pull it in and display it in a nice kind of graph?
Maybe we can speak to both, and we'll see in the meantime if Samira kind of clarifies on that question.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Power BI, it's incredibly powerful. Where we really see it shine is just giving your executives the data in their hands. Leadership loves to see what's going on in their organization and being able to actually see that on their mobile phone and giving them access via Power BI. But that's on Power BI, and I'll let Marina kind of speak to the power of Workplace analytics. That can be incredibly helpful for HR folks, comms folks that typically don't have a great sense of data that they're able to gather internally and what they need. So I'll hand it off to you, Marina.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. We do have a very powerful analytics capabilities. So as a company admin, for example, you are able to see usage and engagement across your entire organization. A lot of times when we kind of we have like a kickoff, right? And so we walk you through a lot of the best practices around how to set up your groups. And usually you have groups that are open to your entire organization, but then you also have groups based on the various teams and the various functions within your company. And so as an admin, you are able to see the engagement across all of the various teams. So you can compare how are the users within the HR organization, using the platform versus IT versus marketing. So you are able to get, really kind of get that powerful insights around the usage for your entire organization. And then if you are creating groups, you can also, as a group admin, even though you're not able to see all of the insights on the company level, you are able to see insights as a group admin of your group as well. So if you are, for example, you're part of the marketing team and you're focused on like a specific function within your marketing team, you can create a group and then be able to get those, drive down and get those specific insights for your particular group. So a lot of, if you're interested, we can give you a better kind of tour and kind of dive down further, but you are able to get a lot of insights across your entire organization within the Workplace platform.
Amazing, thank you, Marina. So we do have another question from Philip. Regarding the Outlook Workplace integration. So seems to be seamless scheduling on Outlook with the MS Teams plugin. Teams meeting, however, for scheduling workplace events. Do you just stay away from duplicating that into Outlook?
That's a really good question. Marina, do you want to field that one?
Go ahead, Erica. I can just tag on if you wanted to start off. Yeah.
No worries. So, Philip, thank you for that question. That is definitely a hot topic because we all know that calendar events are something that it's something that we use a lot as our calendar and scheduled meetings. So pretty much the only thing here is that you just want to ensure that whatever events that you're creating in workplace, like you mentioned, you don't want to duplicate them, but you are able from the open API to look at different ways to actually create calendars. So I think for there, it really just be sitting down with be happy to sit down with the developer and that big, beautiful brain that I was saying about and chat around some more around that calendar integration. But typically what you want to do is some of the Teams calendar events are more focused around when you're creating that content within Teams. So creating anything in Teams and creating from a productivity perspective, the events that you create in Workplace are typically more driven via social or making sure that everyone is on the same page in terms of like a full day event. And then for that integration, then because of that open API, you are able to reach out to a third party. We do have developers that are able to kind of walk you through as to what exactly you're looking for and you need, and then we can build that out for you. Hopefully that answered your question.
Perfect. Yes, thank you, Philip. And if that didn't answer your question, feel free to reach out to us again at engage@linezero.com. So moving on to the next question. This one is from Sandra. So do you have any tips on how to engage a dispersed workforce right now? What do you find is the most engaging way for organizations to keep everyone connected?
Awesome question, Sandra. That is a great question. I feel like it's something that we're seeing across all of our organizations, and Marina can speak to some of the customers that she's been working with, but I think it's like really powerful to watch organizations that not have typically been conservative, but organizations that typically would like to stay a little bit more streamlined in what they do, and watching them kind of use Workplace and use Teams to really engage everyone. And so some of the ways that they do that are, I mentioned briefly on the call, but Wellness Wednesday. And so working with organizations that are looking to have keynote speakers, especially right now, we're all kind of stuck at home. And so what that organization was able to do was reach out to a local team celebrity and see if they were able to do a Wellness Wednesday. And what that actually allowed them to do is they're starting to see like the full impact of somebody coming in and giving them a boost of morale. And then the next Wellness Wednesday and having a campaign for 8 weeks focused on physical health, mental health, ways that you can do yoga in your home, stretch in your home, or even just how to engage with one another. That's one tip. The other one is I talked briefly about it, but I think the aspect of us kind of all going crazy and some of us having to talk to our four-legged animals as our coworkers is something that's true and trying. So being able to do a social hour is really awesome. We saw another organization of ours that what they're doing right now is every Friday they go 5 o'clock and they allow their family and their children to join. And it's really something special to be able to then post those pictures and start to see that engagement on that level. But Marina, feel free to add anything that you've kind of seen over the last couple of weeks in terms of organizations really stepping up that engagement.
Yeah, no, that was a great, I think, summary. Another, I would say, just to tag on to that, just having groups around, like a very popular group is work from home pets. People love posting their furry family members on there and just, you know, putting their company like logo on them and just really having fun with that. Groups around like kids. There's a really popular group at Facebook that we call work from home sad meals, that now everybody's working from home. What are the meals that everybody is making? So just really like connecting your culture that way and bringing people together and really kind of bridging your work life and your personal life seems to be really just very vital right now in just given our current events. I would also say on a more serious note, what seems to have really worked very well for many organizations that we support is having COVID-19 dedicated groups where they can share the critical information around what is happening. So when do they expect their offices to open, benefits around COVID-19. You know, a lot of parents have to now be primary caregivers and also work full-time. So what are those benefits that companies are providing to their employees, like time leave policies, just remote best practices. Now that majority of organizations are working remote, what are those remote best practices that they can share with their employees? Like Erica mentioned, bringing speakers and having their speakers do live videos and sharing how can they sort of stay sane at home with all of their other responsibilities and also, you know, get their job done. So all of those things seem to have are working just very well for a lot of the organizations that we support.
Thank you, Marina. We do have another question. So Liz is asking, can you have a chat in an MCG? So an MCG, a multi-company group.
Sorry, you cut out there just a bit, Stephanie. Can you repeat that question? I'm so sorry.
So can you have a chat in an MCG?
Yes, that's a wonderful question. So when you're creating a multi-company group, like I mentioned earlier, let's say you're working with a third-party vendor, that group, anything that you add to that group is that's the only information that's visible to the partner. They can't see anything that's happening within your workplace instance. But you also can create a multi-company chat as well. And so you are able to collaborate and work with one another over chat with those third-party vendors, absolutely. For example, I'm with Workplace, Erica is with Line Zero, but we chat all the time on Workplace. And, you know, a lot of the preparation for this webinar happened on Workplace. So you can absolutely chat with in a multi-company group.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think that what's really powerful about multi-company groups and multi-company chats is, especially right now, oh my gosh, you probably feel like you're living in your email and having to constantly respond, and there's nothing worse than being like, wait 1 second, I'm just going to use my search bar and like search my entire large inbox for that one email that I was looking for. The nice thing about that MCG is that it keeps it neat and clean in terms of when you are communicating with anyone outside of your party. However, it still is in a private, protected manner. And so when you're looking for those documents or you're looking to chat with someone one-on-one within that third party, just being able to kind of use familiar features versus having to kind of dive right back into your Outlook, right, and going through that search bar. I mean, I think we're all guilty of that. So sometimes knowing that these tools are there, knowing how to use these features, as Marina said, is incredibly helpful when trying to streamline how what's our new normal.
Amazing. So I'll just wait 1 more minute for any other questions to roll in. But if not, that'll kind of conclude today's session. I'm not seeing any more. Okay, amazing. So with that, I'll say thank you, ladies, for answering all those questions. And truly, we hope that this webinar was very informative and you're able to take away some action pieces or some food for thought. With that, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining this webinar. We do have more webinars scheduled in the COVID-19 preparedness series. So please feel free to kind of email any additional questions that you may have to engage@linezero.com. But with that, on behalf of all of us, I'll say thank you so much for joining and have a great rest of the week.
And just to add on to what Holly was saying, Marina, Holly, and I really want to just thank you for your time. But additionally, we know it's really trying, and pretty much if you're on this call, you're looking for ways to connect with everyone, and you're looking for ways to say, when do I use this? When do I do that? We're so happy on both teams to just hop on a call with you and answer your questions like one-on-one over a 15, 20-minute call. Sometimes it's a lot easier than kind of rapid fire in an email where you're trying to like highlight, being like, I need this part, this part. Sometimes it's just easier to do a contact. So please email us at engage@linezero.com. We'd be happy to kind of have a virtual video conference and chat more around how we can help connect your disconnected workforce.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Erica. And thank you, everyone. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.